We are live. Welcome back to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. I'm your host, Zachary Small, joined by the co-host, Anthony Migliorino. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. What's going on tonight? What are we talking about? What's the hot
Tonight we're
topic?
talking about the progression of men, but also the progression of peaceful men. We're going to talk about the men that we've been working with. We've been running these Twitter spaces Monday through Friday, and there are several men who've been joining pretty much since the beginning. And we've been able to watch them and watch their ideas grow and develop and evolve. And within the fraternity of excellence, we're seeing the same. A lot of men are reaching out for coaching, and you're working one-on-one with those guys, seeing them grow. I'm working with guys, seeing them grow. We've got Cal from Greater Forever. He's growing things, and we're seeing that grow. And what we're doing is we're seeing literally the evolution of the mindsets of these parents. And some, they're hitting walls. They're getting stuck. They're trying to figure it out. Some have a great run and they slip up and they slide all the way back. And then there are those who are they took the football and they're running with it. And so today we're going to talk about some of the failure items. We're going to talk about some of the growth and just what we've seen in these men. And importantly, how it can be replicated by those who are still looking to start in the path. And so if you're sitting there, maybe you're one of the ones who slipped, you're like, I'm not going to try again. No, you are, because it's the right thing to do. And if you're one of those who's like, man, I really want to get it going, we'll talk about some of the ways we've seen successful starts, great foundations to build upon, the things those men did, the things they didn't do. We're going to address all of that tonight. As always, if you have a question, throw it into the chat. We'll pop it on the screen. We'll address it live. Whatever it is you have going on in your situation, you've got an hour right now for us to break it down. Two men, we've been doing this for years, locked in with our families, peaceful homes. When you look at it and you take that angle from the 10,000 foot view, what we're doing is becoming more normal because people are seeing that what we're doing works. And we're seeing more and more men pop up, more and more beacons. So if it was a dark night and it was Anthony and I holding our torches, there's a lot coming around. The world's starting to brighten up. And while the world, or people like to say, the world is a dark place, well, not when you surround yourself with torchbearers. Not when you surround yourself with people who are picking up and lighting that fire within. And so we want to help you do that because we want to help you light our world up by growing with the light within your home. Before we do that, make sure you've liked, subscribed, and spread the good word because we're trying to make and normalize the discussion on fatherhood. Yeah, Anthony, starting there, when we talk about the progression of being a peaceful father, where do you see most of the men starting? Is it after an episode where they hit their kid and they realize it's wrong? Kind of like somebody who drank too much, like, all right, I'm not drinking again. Or is it more of they stumbled across your work and they're saying, hey, I didn't even know about this. And then they just kind of begin the journey of digging deeper.
I think it's a little bit of both. I know that I would say it's right now it's a select group of men, right? There's a certain mindset that I think these men have before they even come to us. Well, I can only speak on my experience. And I see that they're curious, they're open. Like there's something that's driving them to reach out to me and say, hey man, I need help with this issue, right? There's something not right. I know there's something wrong and I need some guidance, right? I need some insight into what I could do better. I think the man who hits his kid or is screaming and yelling and doesn't like that, a lot of that is things he's unaware of, right? He doesn't even know why he's doing it. It's almost like second nature. It's his go-to move to try to solve a problem. And even when it doesn't work, it just keeps being repeated, right? You yell more, you punish more, you hit more. And that's the cycle, right? That's what gets us trapped. So what I've been noticing, I mean, as much as I love the conversations we have throughout the week, Wednesday nights, every day on Twitter, I think the real magic is when we have dads jump on and they ask us questions and they join in on the conversation. And the insight that I get from them, right? You get to really see in real life what the problems are, what they're going through, what they're facing. So it's not just these abstract ideas that we're always throwing out, right? Oh, don't hit your kids. Yeah, great. We can always say that. But the conversation is much different when you have a guy come on and he says, hey man, I heard an Oak and Rock video, 2 months ago. I stopped hitting my kids. Things got better, but I'm noticing I'm resorting back to my old self. What do I do now? And to me, man, that is one that's courageous on the man, for that father to step up to the plate and say, I want to be better. I want to continue on this course. And then two is to actually have that conversation, right? To be present, to break down what's going on. What from his childhood is bringing him to this conclusion? What roadblocks does he have, right? What are his blinders on? What is he not seeing? And for me and you to share some insight of what we've learned and then see these men apply it and then speak to them the next day or the next week and tell their stories of success. I mean, that's to me, that's what exceptional men should do, right? That's how we further society. We always talk about, raise kids peacefully, but it's the evolution of the man that's really going to fix the problem.
Yeah, I like the way you phrase that, especially the way you spoke about the repeat, because especially with the Twitter Spaces, immediately coming to mind, we've got Kala, we've got Tim Dolan, and we've got Botina.
Botina.
I freaking love Botina. I don't know if that's the full name. There's no photo, but I freaking love him because he's always there. He's always asking great questions and sharing great insights. And again, when we talk about normalizing the discussion on fatherhood, those men, it's normal for them to have this talk. It is completely normal for them to jump on and speak with us. There's no weirdness, but I will say this. I would say I'm more in the category that men, when they come across my writing on peaceful parenting, it's a totally foreign concept. It's not that they've been trying to implement it and then they're researching something or they're looking up peaceful parenting and then it pops up. It's they're looking for something. I'm associated either with marriage or I'm associated with being a dad or just authenticity. And they kind of find their way accidentally ish towards my talks about not hitting your kids. And they start asking questions. And that's what stands out to me the most when we're on the spaces, especially today, because Tim was like, hey, so you guys mentioned this in the last one, but what about this? He's evolving before our eyes. So he had the onion in his hand. He's like, all right, that's the onion. Let's get off that brown crap. All right. So now we're in the next layer. Slice the top off. Oh, there's a bunch of layers in here. Let me start peeling them back. And, he started to ask deeper and deeper questions. And I believe his daughter is 6 months old. For us to be working with the dude whose first child, 6 months, not even a year old, man. And he's asking these in-depth questions as to how can I better connect? I think what the topic was dating today. It might have been dating or something having to do with that.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus, believing in Santa Claus. We were talking about myths and fairy tales. And he's like, how am I going to handle it with my daughter? And he started asking, well, why this and why that? And you and I were sharing our perspectives. And he's like, I never thought about it that way. I'm going to need to think on this some more. I'll get back to you. That, to me, that is the progression we're looking for. Ask the questions, go apply it. What it is you learn, speak with your spouse about it, talk to your kids about it. Hey, come back. My wife thought about this. What do you guys think? I was talking to my kids about this. What do you think? There are times where these men come back, ask me a question, and I've got to go and I've got to talk to my kids. I've got to learn from them. Like, hey, when we did this, how did we get to this point? And then they come back to me and then I go to him. I'm like, hey, here's awesome. How this happened in their head. Because our kids, again, we were constantly talking about how they're their own individuals. They're going to give us as much insight as we're going to give the next man. And so I learn more with my kids. I share that with them. That is progression, my brother. That is evolution. That is us doing what we're talking about doing at the highest degree. The kids are a part of it. The parents are a part of it. And we find the next layer together. And so to me, that is the aim here, is to get men asking those questions and wondering, why are you parenting the way you parent? What is it that drove you to this? Where do you want to go with it? When we start answering those, we start to see more and more fathers, like I said, lighting those torches and wanting to walk in this direction of brighter homes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an important question you need to ask yourself. Why are you doing the things that you do? Why do you parent a specific way? Right? What is compelling you to be aggressive towards your kids? Why do you have to scream? Why do you have to yell? Why are you fully aware of what a good relationship looks like, but you avoid it at all costs, right? What's holding you back? And to make it simple, right? It's just having the discussion, talking about what's on your mind, not keeping it in. And we don't want to keep it in because when you keep those emotions in, of course they're going to be forced upon the smallest person in your house, the person who can't defend themselves, right? We're going to inflict it on our kids. So what I've seen and what I keep seeing is like you said, that constant evolution where you have dads who are hearing what we're saying, they're picking it up and they're applying it in their home. And then they start to question why they ever did what it was they were doing before. And to me, that's growth, right? That's really what the aim is we want men to understand right from wrong, right? It's a concept that we learn as kids, but we forget it as adults. So that's
You bring up a great point. And so I'm going to throw it out there. So we had Kurt Graham say, I have a question about an issue with my 5-year-old son, hoping you guys could shed some light. Kurt, throw it out there, my brother. We will address it live. So just drop the question and we'll figure it out. If it's something that's personal and you want to shoot it through DM, you can find us on social media. But if it's something you want publicly addressed, yeah, throw it out there, man. I would love to have that talk. While we're waiting on that question to be dropped, I'll say this. And also a big shout out to Phil Foster, jumping in with good advice. I'm pretty sure he has a live stream, so I'll be checking that out after this, brother. Check him out at Phil Foster.
He said good advice.
He is the
was
man.
Was he talking to me or talking to you? I know he wasn't talking to me.
I always give great advice. We know this. He's probably trying to build you up, so he's throwing it your way to get that confidence going. It's good, though. You can't be insecure on here.
Wait.
Hey, there we go. Phil Foster Fitness swag.
Hell yeah.
Like I said, check him out. Phil Foster Fitness. The dude is the man. With that, you were talking about the men looking back like, why did I ever? Oh, damn, man. You straight up said it. You get the advice. I'll step it up right now. See if I can match you. You said that these men, they look back at who they were. And one of the things that we're constantly trying to address is that you cannot get, upset at the things you didn't know when you were acting that way. You didn't have the knowledge you have now then. You didn't have the insights. You didn't have the network. You didn't have the connection. And so what's the point of looking back at who you were and beating yourself up about that guy? That would be like me saying, oh, I hate who I was when I was drinking and I hate who I was when I was fat. Man, all that's doing is taking time, energy, and focus I could be dedicating towards continuing to grow. I use that as fuel. When my brain goes there, I don't dwell on who I was. I focus on who I am and where I'm going with this. Phil's trying to knock me off my game. It's a good thing I'm a professional. And so as we're doing this, these men, when you learn and when you grow, don't sit there and beat yourself up for the times that you were hitting the kids or losing your temper or just getting angry and smashing things. At the time, you didn't have control over yourself. You didn't have control over the direction of who you were and the intensity and energy in you that you wanted to channel to being a better father to your children. It was being sprayed randomly. But now you've learned how to harness that. It's like the Hulk. Instead of going and breaking down buildings, you can just fight the bad guys. You can take that anger, you can use that fuel, and you can allow it to push you towards being a better man. You channel that to ensuring that your physicality is on point. Obviously, I'm bringing that up. We got Big Phil in there. But your mentality, one of the things you're constantly talking about, Anthony, is how you're a peaceful man. You're a chill dude. You go out in the world and do your thing, but in no way does that remove your strength. In no way does that make you a weak man. You just don't hit kids. That doesn't mean that you're not hitting the weights. It doesn't mean that you're not ready to hit a human being, an adult. You're strong. You have that capacity for violence. You have the capacity to exhibit whatever protection you need for the family. So not hitting kids doesn't mean you're less than in any way. And men, they associate those two in the same way that you see men associating, oh, marriage is, you're a slave to the system. They associate these dots because they saw somebody online say it. But if you look at, a lot of the agenda, and this is actually something we'll be doing in the future, everybody's saying, well, peaceful parenting is a leftist ideology. You're trying to be soft. You're trying to be easy on the kids. Absolutely not. We have a standard. You have a standard in the home. We're honest. We're truthful. We're connected. We're going to meet that mark. Your kids are strong mentally, physically, spiritually. I know this. I have met them. You and your relationship with your spouse, on point, locked in, working together, living your life, having a great time together. And the same with my home. We are strong individuals and we're stronger together. And so in no way does bringing peace to the home bring weakness to the home. In no way who you were going to dictate who you become. So we've got to stop connecting these things that don't belong together. And I see Kurt dropped a novel down there. So I'm going to have to find a way to get through that really quick. Kurt says, my 5-year-old seems to be acting out in a way with disrespect against adults, screaming at us, yelling, no, back talk. We take something away like an iPad. He says, go ahead and break it. I don't want it. And at times he hits either us. How do I stop it from happening? Yelling gets us nowhere. Taking things gets us nowhere. Being the nice, calm parent doesn't help either. I don't know what to do. Kurt, that is a great question because this is actually more common than you think. And the solution to this is a little bit easier than you think. The things that aren't working, a lot of parents double down on. I'm going to yell more. I'm going to be stricter. That is not the approach we're going to take here. You want to jump on that, Anthony?
Yeah, no.
I can roll with it, but I just feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, that's all right. Yeah, go ahead. Get it out, man. I don't want to see you pacing back and forth.
So, Kurt, when it comes to what your kid's doing, there's an unmet need that's happening there. And yeah, first off, I wanted to address this. The behavior, it's not going to be a quick fix like this. You've been acting a certain way and he's been acting a certain way, and that's led to this is how you interact with one another. But The same way parents say, don't hit your siblings, don't hit other people, but then you come in and spank them. There's a hypocrisy going on there. And so you yelling at them, why do you think they yell at other parents? They've been conditioned, they've learned through your example that yelling is how you get your point across. Their point is not being heard. You've got to find out what is driving your kid to act like this. And it's going to take reps, because at first, their response is either going to be to shut down or to double down on the behavior they know. But when they realize they can't get a rise out of you, and that you're not going to threaten them with, I'm taking your iPad away, kid. You don't give me the obedience I want, so I'm going to strip things from you. Okay, they're not a prisoner. That's your child. You've got to connect. You got to find out where the disconnect is. And so my approach to that, if you start to see the signs creeping in that, all right, something's not working out here, talk to him. Treat him like the future man he's going to be. Give him that level of respect. Even at 5 years old, sit down eye to eye and bring him to the table. Hey, buddy, I noticed we've been having some conflict. I just want you to know we're not going to be doing the yelling anymore. We're not going to be stripping things away or taking things away. I would just prefer, could you come and talk to me? When things starts to get weird, you can grab me anytime you want, pull me to the side. We'll have a quick conversation to see what the issue is. And let's try to catch it together. And, you're not going to yell and I'm not going to yell either. And we're both going to be tag team. And, maybe we'll have a secret code, or maybe we'll have like a secret, exchange, and then we'll go over, have a little handshake, talk about what's going on, come on back, and we'll discuss it. But there's something that's not being met. You're not seeing something he needs. And without knowing what's causing this, but the disrespect against adults, I hate the phrasing there. And it's not a shot at you, but it's this elevation. Adults are greater than, kids are less than. Now, children are not second-class citizens. Their job is to not sit down and be quiet, and you must respect all adults. Why do they have to respect someone off age? They should respect someone off the respect given. And so if an adult is giving that child respect, the child gives the adult respect. Now, there are certain areas where I can see the discussion of like, hey, if a 5-year-old sitting in a chair and a 7-year-old standing up, you'd be like, hey, buddy, we were going to have to swap this over here. Like, let's not make grandpa stand in the corner. His knees are really bad. But that's something that's explained and covered and clearly understood by the child. Most of the time, the kids would come and sit in my lap when they were little, and then an adult would sit down. But what I don't want to think, or I hope isn't happening, is that because you're the adult and you're older, you're right. Because your child might be right about this. Whatever they're yelling about, they may be correct. Hey, you guys are not treating me fair. Hey, you guys are not giving me the equal playing field that you're on. And so that is sort of the angle I would take, is to start trying to find out where the disconnect is, find out what is causing this, and more importantly, coming up with the game plan yourself as to how you're going to better conduct yourself so your child is not seeing you be angry and yell and stamp and have an adult temper tantrum, because he's just going to continue to do the same.
Yeah, no, it's well said, Zach. And that's what it comes down to, right? It's our kids model our behavior. And it's classic respond versus react, right? It's a way where when we see our child, he mentioned disrespect, but I guarantee you it was just a disagreement, right? There's probably something that your son didn't want to do that you wanted him to do. So what happens in these relationships, and exactly what you were saying, Zach, right? We have this image that it's not an equal relationship. We're the parent, we're the dad, the kid has to listen to us. And we get caught in that power struggle, right? We make it a win for the parent, a lose for the kid. And any relationship that is win-lose, I don't care if it's your spouse, a friend, if that's the dynamic, one person is going to feel left out. One person is going to get hurt. And it's not about who's right or wrong, right? That's not the intention of being a good father. It's not about, well, I know I'm right. I know you have to go to bed right now because it's what's best for you. The intention should be, how do I get my son to get under my influence where he believes me, he respects me, and he understands that he needs to go to bed now. And there's a million and one ways you can do that, right? You can get creative, you can have fun, you can let him choose the bedtime, negotiate those things. But I think the main thing with Kurt is it has to be a win-win scenario. And what that looks like is, if you guys have a disagreement, the normal behavior would be for you to get upset or you to get angry, and then he matches that energy. When you have win-win, you want him to do something and you accept where he's at, right? You don't force him, you don't threaten him, you don't bribe him, and you sure as hell don't hit him, right? you come down to his level and you ask the child, what is it that he needs from you? How can I help you get this task accomplished? And just taking those small steps, right? It's not going to happen quick. He said, he tried the nice calm parent, and that doesn't help either. This is a process that you're going to do for your entire life. This is something you're going to be working on forever because you're going to be a dad until you die. So it's not a quick fix. It's about what we always say, getting in the reps, continual slow progression, right? You eat the elephant one bite at a time. And that's how you have to parent, right? There's nothing, I'm not going to give you a quick fix. Zac is not going to give you advice that's going to solve the problem tonight. It's the mindset that you would adopt to not only help yourself, but help your child. And when you start to function with that cooperation, with that teamwork, that's when those conflicts get minimized and they don't turn into screaming matches. He's not breaking the iPad. He's not disrespecting you. He's starting to hear you because you're hearing yourself, right? You're being aware of how you're treating him. And then that gets reflected back to you. So instead of seeing anger, frustration, and hatred and resentment, you start seeing connection and trust and curiosity and cooperation. You start to see all the better things that the better qualities in yourself that you truly want to give your kid, but you're hesitant to because of the fear that Zac said, right? You don't want the kid to run the house. You don't, there's fears behind it. So, yeah, man, just continue to be that calm parent. Trust me, it'll pay dividends.
That's the thing, dude. And one of the things I fucking love more than anything is how I went off and I hit a lot of points, and you came in and hit so many points as well that I was like, I covered all the bases, nailed it. And you come in with that, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I didn't go second. I don't know how I could have followed that up, but it's one of those things where we've been doing this a while, and still every situation's unique, every approach, there is universal overlap. Don't hit your kids, connect with them, get to their level. That's something we say universally, but with each kid, that's going to be a little different. And so, Kurt, the advice that we're offering, you spin it your way to your child. You know that if they would rather go outside and throw a ball or they'd rather sit down and play Legos, you would know that. We wouldn't know that. But you can find a way, well, how can I get to their level? And to go back to progression and spin this to what the topic was, as you go through and you're like, all right, I'm going to breathe through this. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to yell. You'll come back, maybe you drop a comment in YouTube, or maybe it just happens and we never even hear about it again. But you're like, all right, I didn't yell. And so next time I'm actually going to get ahead of it. I'm going to talk to him about the situation we're going into. And so let's say going out to eat's a big one. My kids, they don't like to sit and go out to eat, or they don't like to go shopping. I would tell my kids, I hate shopping. I don't want to go grocery shopping. Actually, I do enjoy grocery shopping. I don't want to go clothes shopping. I don't want to go, furniture shopping. I don't want to go looking for these things we got to look for. But I will tell the kids, hey, I don't want to do this. I know you don't want to do this. So while we're walking around, let's bring a tennis ball. And we'll bounce a ball to each other while we're walking around the store. Or we'll just talk. And I basically take their mind off the fact that they're bored. And I recognize you're a kid. You don't want to be sitting here quiet, not able to do anything. You got to sit and wait for your food, and nobody wants to do anything. And the parents don't want you on an iPad because they want your company, but they're talking about taxes and how much it sucks to pay the government so much thousands of dollars because you couldn't find a way to write off those business expenses. And so you're sitting there trying to figure this out. And you're like, hey, I'm 5 years old. I don't want to talk. Yeah, it's a little close to home. But you're sitting there and the kid's like, man, I'm bored. How far can I throw this fork? Now I got something to do. Boo! And you're like, yo, don't throw that to me. Why didn't you pay attention to them before they threw the fork? Why weren't you engaging them prior to the event happening? And this is where I see the progression. Parents start to do that. They're proactive instead of reactive. And I like the way you phrase that because that goes everywhere. You can be proactive with bedtime, proactive with brushing your teeth time, proactive with dinner time. All of these things, you start to see the signs in your kids first, and you can address it before the bomb goes off. It's like all the Looney Tunes. When they light the gunpowder and just going right near the bomb, and you got to hit it right before it gets it. You can hit it before your kid erupts. Yeah. And especially when they're younger, because they're kind of like, it's a flash in the pan where something sets them off. Oh no, I dropped my book and a page got wet. It's the end of my life. Well, don't matter. It's just a book. Yeah. But to them, it's their favorite book. To them, it is that big of a deal. It's like you dropping your phone into a puddle or cracking a screen. You're like, oh shit, that's my phone. Well, that's how they feel about their things too. Give them that credit. And so, Kurt, I'll just say, to back up what Anthony was saying, it's a process. It's going to take a while, man. But the more we talk about it, like you just did, having the guts to throw that out there, a lot of men don't, because they're still ashamed. They're still hiding all their flaws. They don't want to even consider the fact that maybe they're not parenting the best way they could. But when you think like that, you don't grow. And we're talking about the progression of men tonight. You only progress when you put a load on yourself. And that load is speaking up in a YouTube channel. That load is sitting there and talking to other dads about it, normalizing the discussion on how you can be a better father. That's what Anthony and I are looking to do. It's what we are doing. We're seeing the progression. So just keep at it, man, and keep asking questions. Yeah. We got a few more in the chats. We got Mark saying, yelling at your kid to address conflict teaches them to yell to address conflict. Funny. Children follow your example, not your advice. He's dead on. If you're going to yell, why aren't the kids going to yell? They're trying to be like you, Dad. Kurt said, thank you guys so much. It was greatly insightful. Anthony, great to see you, by the way. My dad says hi. So apparently you know Kurt.
Yeah, man. Tell Dad I said what's up.
There you go. You have like a posse. I'm going to message my family and be like, I need like 30 people rolling in. Anthony's been showing me up these past few.
I got
Jimmy G. It's important to teach our kids negotiation rather than confrontation. That is a great point. Anthony, something too I've really enjoyed watching you do is when you first introduced the art of negotiation into FOE, the guys are like, what do you mean? You negotiate with your kids. You're giving them authority. And then all of a sudden, these guys are coming back, and Jimmy G dropped it perfectly. Instead of you guys butting heads, you learn to meet in the middle. Yeah. Well, what does that mean? That means you give them a seat at the table. You allow them to be a peer. Like, all right, here are my terms. Here's what I want from you. Here's what I'm asking from you to do. And they say, hey, Dad, that's fantastic. My people, my agent here, here's what I want from you. Most parents don't do that. They don't allow terms to be set that way. And it's funny, we were talking recently. My son calls my ass to the carpet every time. If I don't do the thing that I'm telling him I'm going to do, he's like, Dad, you said this. I'm like, shit. All right, I got to stick to my word the same way I'm expecting you to. And so when it came to negotiation and seeing them grow, how do you help parents get over that barrier of thinking they're giving away their power or their authority as a parent if they allow their child to set some terms as well?
No, it's good, because most of the times, even before the negotiation takes place, they don't have power, right? They're in conflict. They're in fights. They're stressed out. They're being minimized by a 5-year-old, right? So if they're in the frame of the child is the one who has the power. We think because we're bigger and we're the parent, we're controlling the situation. But the truth is, so many fathers I speak to, they're stressed out, right? They're over the top. They can't take it anymore. They don't know what to do. They're out of steam. So they're not in control, but they have this illusion that they are, right? Because they're the dad. So I think when you remove the confrontation, right? When you try to minimize the conflict and you start to negotiate, then that's when you get your power back. That's when you understand you're the adult, and whatever situation it is, you control it, right? You're negotiating the terms, right? So when I say negotiate with your kids, they're on your terms. Obviously, we don't want to negotiate and let our kids do things that are dangerous just to make them feel good. So there's always this disparity that we have to acknowledge. And it would be, something similar to eating dinner, right? You negotiate. The goal as a father is to get your kids to eat, to get them to eat healthy foods. So you give them 2 or 3 options. That child is going to pick what they want. So now they have some power. They have some say of what's going on. But ultimately, it's your conditions, right? You led them to making the better decision. And that's when you have that control as a father. That's when you're in charge, but you don't have to be domineering, right? You don't have to enforce it. You don't have to use threats. You don't have to use punishment. You don't have to take things away. And man, taking things away from a little kid that they love is destructive, right? It's like if you had something, even as an adult, that you cherished, that you really loved, and one of your friends was going to punish you because you were late to meeting them, and they tried to take that away, man, that would be an act of war, right? You would lose your shit. You would go crazy. You'd be like, what are you doing, man? Don't ever touch my fucking phone. I have my crypto on here, man. I will end you. But it's important. So I think the big thing with negotiations, you have to realize that it is your power. And the best way to to teach a kid why negotiating is good is because that's how the world works. If you don't know how to communicate and negotiate with people, you're going to be that guy everywhere he goes. He's going to be screaming and yelling at people, right? When they bring out the wrong dish for you at dinner, you're going to have an uproar and you're going to have an adult temper tantrum and you're not going to know how to handle the situation. Instead of being able to negotiate, communicate, express like an adult what it is that you need, what happened that was wrong, and how it needs to be corrected, you're going to be an asshole. And that's what we don't want to teach you. I don't want my kids to grow up that way. I want them to have respect and courtesy.
I'd say in that too, there's an angle that I think we should address here. And it's, why do you want what you want from your kids? You never want blind obedience. That's how you raise government drones. If you say, do what I said because I said, I'm going to kick, man. I'm not feeling the government today. But if you say, do as I say because I said so, you're teaching children to just blindly follow any perceived authority, be it a boss, the government, a spouse, whatever. And you don't want that. That's how many are taken advantage of. They're manipulated. They don't ever question, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's just somebody told me to and I have to. They have more letters behind their name than I do. So they're more valuable. They have more power than me. I have less power. I'm less than. They can tell me what to do. They're allowed to, just like my parents did. So there's that element. But also, one of the things that I take great pride in helping people crack through is bedtime, the whole brushing the teeth and the dinner time. I know we've had thousands of talks, hundreds of hours logged about getting that stress time like immediately flipped on its head. And it always comes down to this question: why are you connecting growth and success and just contentment and being a good person with an obscure time? Why do you think that if there's 5 minutes left in your kid's show, but they go to bed at 9 and it's going to end at 9:05, you're teaching them something positive by sending them to bed at 9? Why are we blindly? What is the goal there? Is the goal to connect with your kid? Is the goal to allow your kid to have just a peaceful end to their day? Then why are we so worried about the time? And the same thing with dinner. The clean plate club. I belong to that. I still have a hard time like stopping eating when I'm full. Like, I'm glad I got filled, man. Like, I now have what's on the plate I'm allowed to eat. Like, it's already set up. Like, finish this, I hit my macros. Cool. I can do that because I will finish the damn plate. But I don't do that to my kids. If you're full, that's okay. It's your body. And if an hour later you're like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm not going to be a dick. Like, you should have ate your dinner. Now you got to wait 6 more hours. No, man, here's an apple. Here's a banana. Like, you weren't hungry then. You're hungry now. If they're like, oh, I want ice cream. Oh, we're gonna hold off a little bit of the ice cream, but I've got these other options. Like, all right, cool. I'll grab this little snack over here. Kids are kids. They're gonna want the ice cream. They'll eat ice cream until they puke, and then they'll learn like, oh man, that was too much ice cream. Then guess what? Lesson learned.
I don't think Jimmy G's ever learned that.
Immediately, like, what's the other one? Oh, they don't eat the vegetables. If you make them a part of the process of buying the vegetables, they're much more likely to eat them. And what I mean by that is, bring them to the store. And if you're like, well, we're having green beans and chicken, and they're like, well, I hate green beans. Well, what do you like? I don't like anything. Okay. Well, I guess we don't have anything you like. Let's go to the store and find something you do like. And then all of a sudden they're shopping with you. And the next time they're eating dinner, or you could even preface, hey, if we're going to sit, let's just eat as much as we can of this one. And then you get to pick the next one. Let's go to this, and then bring them shopping with you and be like, hey, what would you like for dinner? And, maybe they'll go crazy and something like, all right, we're going to try to keep it to chicken, fish, or beef. Like, what are those your favorite one of those? They're like, all right, I like chicken. Cool. All right, we got some chicken. All right, we've got all these colors over here. We've got red peppers. We've got cucumbers. We've got broccoli. We've got asparagus. What do you like? Like, oh, I freaking love rice. All right, didn't say any of those, but let's go get some rice. And then you just make it a thing and you have some fun with it. And guess what? You're cooking dinner with your kids. They're growing up. They're having a good time. Your child's not going to turn into an unsuccessful fat slob because they didn't eat their green beans at that dinner time. My daughter went like months without eating meat. I didn't say, oh, you're a vegan. You're going to be one of those left-haired, like liberal, like psychopath. Like, I was like, hey, cool. You don't eat meat. I'm not going to make you eat it. You have some vegetables. And she would crush all of her vegetables. And guess what? One day she started eating meat because she's a kid, and they try things and they test things, and their palate's like, I don't like this. I don't like the consistency of it. And the next week they're like, oh, I love this. Let's go and let's eat it. And so we've got to stop putting these weird rules as to, if you don't eat your vegetables when you're 4, you're going to be a horrible human being. And that makes me look bad as a parent. Dude, They don't want to eat, and that's okay. If their TV show ends 5 minutes past their bedtime, that's okay. You're not being a pushover of a parent. People say that to you because they think that that's a flex. I'm a strong parent because my kid is locked in by 9 p.m., not a minute after. Bro, you are angry. You're an alcoholic. You hate your job. You haven't had sex with your wife in months. You're not successful because your kid goes to bed on time. That is not a metric that's not a flex by any parent out there. And so when I look at this, we need to look at why are we doing what we're doing? And so when it comes to negotiating, why are you setting the terms you're setting and to begin with? I love, like I said, that is my favorite part of talking parenting is when I see those contentious moments turn into love and connection and peace and just great memories. And what I love most, and I'm going to speak on your behalf too, Anthony, when they start sharing the photos of the dinner time where they're having a good time, the bedtime where they're building forts or they're reading books together, that fills my soul. Like it overflows my cup. Like I'm just like, man, like that's what's up. What used to be anger and hate and confrontation is now love and connection and happiness. And that's how your family should be operating the entire time. You should be connected. You should be one. You should be one against the world. It's all of you guys together, working together, finding out what makes each other tick, what foods you like, the shows you like, working together. And when you work for your kids, they work for you. And all of a sudden your kids will go out of their way to help you out. Hey, Dad, let me get the trash. Hey, I got this. I'll take care of this. Oh, Mom, do you need help? I can come and help you with this. One of the things, I can go on forever, man. I'm going to throw it your way. Like, I just love when we're talking progression and like, I'm starting to get really pumped up and motivated, dude,
Yeah,
because
man.
I'm thinking of all the dads and all the freaking parents that have shared with us how they've flipped the script and that's not fight time before bed and they're not stressed out. They're happy. And
Yeah.
I want to bottle that shit up and give it to everybody. And I guess we're trying to do that electronically here, obviously. But dude, that's one of my favorite parts about everything we do is when we get those messages and those pictures of people who they're happy and their kids are happy. And it's like, man, look at where they're going to go with that. Like that's a happy family now where it might have been years and years and years of fights and fights until the kid moved out.
Yeah.
And here they are. They just changed it by changing their behaviors.
Yeah, well, they're working towards a goal, and that's the progression of men, right? That's what I see all the time, and I think it's important to understand, you know, if you don't take that first step, if you're not willing to improve and change the environment of your home, you stay stuck in the same way that you were raised. And a lot of men don't see that, right? They don't understand it, and they'd rather have the same conflicts every day, every night, and they go over it and they beat themselves in the head, right? And they keep having these problems, these issues. And like we were saying, all it takes is for you to be able to reach out or even talk to other fathers about what's going on. And and again, going back to progression, the more that you can do this from within, right? This is what it's about. It's about us as men becoming better, learning how to handle conflict, learning how to resolve disputes, learning how to negotiate. We learn all these tools that were never taught to us as a kid, right? We never had that respect or that courtesy from our parents, most of us. That's why it's such a foreign concept, and that's why it's so hard to get into that mindset because we live in a world where everybody's telling you they're going to fix you real quick, or I got a quick fix for that, and then here are me and you saying, "Hey, we got something for you, right? We're going to help you. We're going to improve your family, but it's going to take some work." And you're going to have to push forward and you're going to have to learn things. You're going to have to read books on parenting. You're going to have to get over that uncomfortableness of thinking you're not important and nobody cares what you have to say and speak up as a man and tell us what's going on so we can engage you and we can have the conversation. And that's exactly what gets passed down to your kids. So now when your son or your daughter is feeling that nobody gets them, nobody understands them, why should they speak up? Every time I do, I'm treated poorly, right? I'm treated in a bad way. Why should I even care what that thinks? When you start caring about yourself, that gets passed down to your kids, right? They see it. They're living it in their home now. And, there are so many men who go down that route that I speak to. And the problems, I don't want to say they disappear because there's always going to be issues popping up. But when they do reemerge and they show themselves, right? When the kid has a bad day, God forbid, The father he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. He's not thinking about, why is this little fucker doing this to me? He's thinking about, man, I got this. How can I help my son? How could I help my daughter better this
And they'll bring it
situation?
to you. If they have a problem, they'll bring it to you. They won't try to
Yes,
hide it from you.
great point. Yes, so now you're not seen as a threat. You're seen as a leader. You're seen as the man in the house who they don't have to fear, right? They know, all right, I'm not going to get hit anymore, right? Because I didn't want to brush my teeth, dad's not going to smack me. Because I stayed on the tablet too long, he's not going to take it away and throw me in my room, right? They start to see, you not even see it, they're living it. And they start to understand, wow, this is what right looks like. This is how a family's supposed to be. This is the shit that I've seen on TV when I watch, Leave It to Beaver. And well, they don't have shows like that anymore. The shows are highly dysfunctional. That's a whole different subject. But no, the reality is you're creating an environment that you control. And when the environment is not what you want, that burden is on the father. That responsibility is on you. We can never give our kids the responsibility to behave like adults, to know how to fix problems, and to have a moral stance on what's right and wrong. Right? They're kids. They need our guidance. They need our support to figure these things out. And when we punish them for not being able to, that's when they get a really bad image about who they are. Right? They get a really bad self-image. That's when their self-esteem gets broken down. That's when they stop trying to figure out how to solve problems, and they just take the punishment. They just take the torment, and they believe that they're helpless.
So I had something from Fitzy up here, but I'm throwing Jimmy G first because it aligns with what you just said. He says, you cannot expect your kids to be strong, independent adults when we control them during their formative years. How can you expect a child to go out into the world and thrive if they've never been allowed to thrive in any environment? It's been controlled. You can't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do this, or I'm going to hurt you. Oh, go out there and be independent. Why are you letting the government control you? How are we not connecting these dots? Yeah. It can't just be us. I mean, like I said, we were talking earlier before we hit record. I was like, man, we have above average IQs. We're intelligent dudes, but there are individuals way smarter than us who should be able to be like, hey guys, what we're doing with parents is not helping us as a country. It is hurting us because we are creating just people who follow, unless that's the aim. Again, different discussion. To bring it back to what Fitzy was saying, Mark says, when your kids are bored, it's an awesome opportunity to connect. They're free, so take advantage. Ask them a question, play Thumb Wars, tell them a story. That is so spot on. My son and daughter are the coolest people I know. And that trips people out. Like, who's the best man you know? Like my son. Like that dude, he just impresses me daily with the questions he asks, the things he's thinking about. It's so beyond how I was thinking and acting at that age. And even then, it's not even a comparison of him to me. It's even now the things he asks are super interesting to me. I'm like, oh, but I've never thought about it that way. What a great point. I got to figure that out, dude. I have no idea. I got to answer that question. Let's go find out together. And we learn and we grow. When they're bored, I'll put it like this. There are certain parties I'll go to. There are certain places I'll go to. There's certain things I have to do. And you will find me literally hanging out with my kids. I'm like, yo, what are you guys up to? Let's go grab a table and let's go play a game or like do whatever. And I'll sit there and kick it with my kids. And if they're out playing with their friends, usually I'm with the dogs. I'll find whatever dog will be outside throwing a ball to it. Like, I enjoy people, but I cannot tolerate the mundane. My wife's a ball and chain. The kids are so bad. The kids these days, I don't have the patience in me. And instead of being rude and not going to these events, I find entertainment for myself. Oftentimes I'm kicking it with my kids. I'm watching my daughter do flips and I'll try to do flips with her. She's much better than I. My son, if we don't have a ball, we'll pick up a rock and play catch. Like, we just play catch. We find a way to play catch. We find a way to get a sport. We'll do sprints, whatever. Or we'll sit and hang out. And again, I love my wife. I love sitting and talking to her. But at these parties, she's very social. So she will talk to the parents about whatever, and she'll move and groove with the moms. So when they're bored, understand that there's nothing wrong with that. That's a great opportunity to sit and engage and be like, hey, what are you guys thinking about? What's the coolest thing you learned today? What's the shittiest thing you learned today? And every now and then I will say shittiest. I try not to swear around my kids, but I'm like, what's like the most like crap thing that happened to you guys today? And one of them was like, oh, I dropped my backpack in a puddle. I'm like, oh, that sucks. I was like, one time I dropped my phone in the pool. That was bad. And we'll just talk to each other like human beings. I'll engage them like peers. I sit around, I'll talk the way I speak to you, Anthony. I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? How's your day? And like when you speak to me, I listen and I process, and then I come back to you. When my kids speak to me, it's not they're meant to receive my signal because I'm the authority and they're the receptor. It's a two-way street. Communication is you listen, you hear, you digest, you repeat. Oh, that's cool that happened. What about this, or what about that, or whatever it is. Jimmy says ice cream is always the answer. For Jimmy, I would argue, but that dude's arms are the size of my head, so he's doing something right. He's found a way to channel those calories directly to the muscle.
He's got to get a new gig, man.
Yeah, honestly, that's like what I was saying. Like, oh, I'm short. Like, man, we get it. Ice cream's your thing.
We get it.
He's like a Swiss Army knife. Though. There's a lot more to that dude. When we get him on here with a working microphone, this next time, we'll get more out of him. Zach's on a roll, bro. You know me. I can talk about fatherhood all night, all day. There's so many elements. We literally do. So many angles. We do all night, all day. We have a Twitter space Monday through Friday. We've got the live now. We've got the videos we're dropping. We actually dropped part 2 to our Jared McLean video on medication and mental health issues. I highly recommend you check that out. But again, make sure you can go through our library of videos, like, subscribe, spread the good word. They're all focused on different aspects of family, and there is a lot more to come. Mark says, a lot of these poor parenting responses or reactions that have been bred into us. It takes time to retrain the instincts. It's important to not give up. That's actually a great point we had spoken about, but we haven't addressed yet. And that's the parents who relapse. Yeah. So I'd say now's a good time to jump on that, man.
Yeah. No, and that's a good. So I'm going to hit it with an angle, which is almost like a conclusion. Not to the end of the show, but, I was thinking about, we talk about peaceful parenting. We talk about not giving up, right? Getting the reps in. And that's something that you must do in order to succeed. But what I was trying to wrap my head around, and when speaking to a lot of dads, right, they get discouraged quickly. And I think it's even more than that, right? I think what happens is the more that you connect with your kid, the more that your kid trusts you, guess what? You're going to be faced with more problems. There's going to be more issues. They're going to be more receptive. They're going to be more open, and they're going to come to you more to help them. And a lot of dads are not ready for that. And I was thinking about it because I was just thinking about my week this week, what I went through with my kids. And as much as I've parented in a peaceful way for the last 15 years, my kids still hit me with stuff. And it's not that it's a struggle, but I have to always be on my toes, right? I always have to be on top of my game. And I always have to make sure that what I am telling them is beneficial to them. The advice that I'm giving them, it doesn't always have to be the solution. And what I'm finding out now with having older kids is I want to build them up, right? I want to tell them good things about themselves. I don't try to fix that exact issue or problem because I don't have all the answers. I don't know what goes on in that world now. They're adults. So when they bring issues to me that I can't even relate to, I just say, hey, you are a strong, confident young woman. There's nothing that's going to stop you, right? You have to go about this issue where you believe that it's going to be resolved and that you're going to benefit from it. And if you don't, you learn the lesson and you move on. And it's just a matter of building them up that little bit that gives them the confidence to move forward. I didn't even give him an answer, right? And it's like Mark said, right? It's not giving up. I didn't give up. I didn't know the answer, but I made sure that their mindset was one of being resilient, one of being dedicated to accomplishing a task that they needed to do that was bothering them, that maybe I really didn't know how to go about. So I think that's an important lesson for fathers to recognize.
There are also layers to this too. And I was thinking about that as you're going on. There are, like the onion analogy, you get to the one and then there's another. I would say that there's a certain layer that unless you make a mistake, you can't progress. And to kind of explain that, you won't learn the lesson of what caused you to slip or why you were doing the thing you were doing or what little things linger inside of you until it shows itself. And all of us have that. None of us have a perfect streak to where we've never lost our temper or never said the wrong thing or just took the wrong approach to solving a problem when we should have let somebody else solve it. But you don't see that until you're like, man, you're sitting there alone or you're laying there at night before bed, you kind of going through your day and you're like, I said this, but I probably should have just let him figure it out. Like, what if he came to something different than what I thought was best for him?
Yes.
And and that's something I've learned. Like, there are examples where I've learned live with you in just conversations we've had, times just by myself when they were like way younger and before this was even a thing. Me just going over like, damn, like I don't want to miss that again. And so you don't make the same mistake twice, but you have to recognize I slipped here. Now, it doesn't mean I'm bad. It doesn't mean it's all over. I messed up. They're broken for life. It's the same thing as I'm saying, if the kid doesn't eat their plate or whatever, they're not going to turn into these junkies living on our bridge. That's too extreme. We're too hard on ourselves as parents, and we don't give ourselves any grace when we slip up either. The mistake you made, whether you yelled, if you're a spanker and like you've gone up 2 months without anything, and you just lose it, and you swat him on the butt. You're like, I'm never gonna be better. I'm just a piece of shit, and this is who I am. No, man. Something happened that day. Something probably happened that morning, and it just set a series of things in motion until you just lost all composure and you forgot the main rule. At no point for any reason at all am I going to strike this child. Something knocked you off that path. And when you can find out what that thing is, now that's eliminated, and now it's not going to happen again because you killed the one thing that still existed, but it had to show itself for you to know it was there. Like that cancer cell had to pop up for you to be like, oh, damn, there it is. Surround it, remove it, and now you're a better dad. And there are certain things, and that's one of them. That's one of the key things where once you say, no matter what, never again, and then it happens, and you find out how it happened, now you can go forward knowing never again. I killed that one thing that lingered. And that applies to many other things, whether it's yelling, whether it's trying to tell your kid what they want to do or what they should do, as opposed to allowing them to make that choice. We're hard on ourselves, but you have to understand, making a mistake doesn't mean you're a mistake. It means you're learning and you're growing, because you can only make a mistake if you're in the game. If you're always in the sidelines, not doing anything, trying to be a better dad, you can't make a mistake. You're not doing anything. You're an observer. You don't care. You're not assessing anything. And so you don't even know if it's a mistake or if it's good, because you don't care. You're not being intentional about being a father. And so some mistakes are good. They allow you the opportunity to learn.
Well, it's like you punish yourself for making a mistake, right? Obviously, you don't physically harm yourself or throw yourself in your room, but you have these thoughts and feelings about yourself, right? I'm a bad dad. I'm no good. Or why can't my kid just listen, right? We tell all these negative thoughts fill our head. So it's almost like we're punishing ourselves. And that's exactly what we do to our kids, right? If we go back to Kurt from the beginning, we, as parents and especially as dads, we think that if we punish, the problem gets solved, right? Our kids learn a lesson. They learn that they're going to have to go through some pain if they disrespect dad. If they don't do what we say, there's going to be punishment. And this is something I get all the time. It drives me crazy. Is the assumption that if we don't punish our kids in the home, right? If we don't teach them that there's consequences, they're going to grow up and they're going to be spoiled. They're going to grow up and they're going to get themselves into a tough position, right? They're going to piss off the wrong person who's going to hurt them. And this is what we believe. So we based on fear, we tell ourselves that we're being cruel to our kid now when they're little, when their brain's developing, when they don't understand even why we're punishing them, because somehow it's going to be effective later on when they become adults, right? They're gonna magically understand that, oh, the guy with the ski mask and the revolver, you don't call him a pussy. That's just common sense, bro. That your kids learn that from conversation, from reasoning with them, from talking to them about danger, not from hurting them when they're younger, right? Not from shaming them or going and putting them in their room for 2 hours because they said no to you. That teaches a child nothing. And again, I think a big thing to this parenting of what we're doing is when an adult is shame-based, when they have these feelings or these emotions that control them as a kid and they don't know how to properly process them, they come out distorted. And unfortunately, they come out on the children. So then your children, they don't know how to process it, right? They don't know how to deal with it. If there's issues in the home, your kid is not going to fix the problems. They're not going to fix those issues. It has to be on you. So you have to get past whatever the fuck happened to you. You have to grow. You have to expand. You have to move on. And you have to start deciding, like you were just saying, Zach, what type of man are you going to be? If you hit your kid, good. It's over. Don't do it again. If you keep hitting your kid, you're fucked up. There's something wrong, right? There's something that you're not seeing. You're not connecting the dots because you're afraid to go down that path. You're afraid to say, hey, I can be a better dad.
Mhm.
What do I have to do to get there? Right? What am I going to experience some pain? Am I going to have to realize that my dad beat the shit out of me and that shit sucked and I never dealt with it before? I never even thought about it because I didn't want to disrespect my dad. That's how fucking scared I was. Or are we going to say, hey, well, my dad was fucked up. I understand it. It's cool. I'm going to move on and I'm going to make sure my kid doesn't have to carry that baggage for the next 30 years. That's the goal. That's the intention.
And when you look at it like that, Jimmy dropped a great point that ties in well. He said it's important to apologize to our kids when appropriate. It's important for them to know that we make mistakes too. When you're open and honest about this, it'll help your resolve. We need to tell them like, hey guys, I did the wrong thing. I made a mistake. In your head, you're also, there should be this underlying tone of that's not going to happen again. And when you say it and it comes out and it just flows to your children, you're looking at them like, hey, I slipped up. Not only are you letting them know like, oh shoot, like my dad's a human being, like he's legit and he's telling us this. You're also saying, hey, I'm going to stop doing that. I've got to fix this. I'm working on it. All right, cool. My dad's working on this. You're also showing them life is a process. When you become an adult, it's not that life is sunshine and rainbows and everything's perfect. You're showing them you have to continue to grind. And you're also showing them, hey kids, look at me still doing the work. This is why when I'm talking to you about doing the work, I'm living it myself. I'm showing you that you've got to continue to do this. And so they see like, oh, I've got to work hard too, because I'm going to be doing this forever. Instead of like, why do I need to work hard if you're not doing anything, Dad? Yeah. Why do and we always bring it back, especially youth sports, the dad who's overweight sitting there from the stands yelling at his kid to run harder, work out, try, commit to something. It's like, guy. Dad, you don't do any of those things. Why do I have to do that? Like, this makes no sense. I can't really connect the dots here. And I'm honestly conflicted on why am I going to put out if when I'm an adult, I don't have to do shit anymore. You share that with your kids and they get to see it. And I think there's something too, to be said about, you mentioned like, yeah, you made the mistake. Like, good. Like, okay, what's next? Again, when you make that mistake and you see that it's an opportunity to correct it, you can show your kids how they fix mistakes. Hey, when you slip up, you own it immediately. You go and you tell somebody, hey, my bad. Whether it's a teammate on a team, you throw the ball too high and they miss. Hey, that's me. That's not you. They yell at their sibling. That's me. Hey, my bad. I was frustrated. It just got out of control. And that's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. When I look at what it is we're doing and I look at, where we're going with this, I think Fitzy hits the nail on the head. He says, I love your work, man. Keep going, changing the world one family at a time. Brother, you have no idea. Hearing and seeing you guys in the chat and knowing what it is you're doing with your families, how motivating that is for us. This is about progression. It's incredible to see the men evolve to where they're not afraid of their kids. They're not afraid of their kids making them look bad. They're not afraid of what their kids are going to do outside of they're afraid of their kids not reaching their full potential. And they're doing their damnedest to make sure that they put all the tools aligned. They're giving everything they can. They're setting the example of like, hey, go out there and live your life. And I'm going to show you because I'm going to do the same thing. And when you guys have kids, you get to show them what love looks like and what connection looks like. And you're going to get them to go out and live an even greater life because they're going to have even more tools. So they're going to have everything you gave them plus what they learn on their own, which makes them just like mathematically, they're greater than you. That's the legacy you leave behind. Setting the kids in a trajectory that goes beyond anything you could touch. And that's why I'm doing this, man. It's already happening. I'm already seeing them like, dude, you guys think so much. You guys ask so many questions and they're difficult questions, dude. And that it's like you were saying, the kids are coming to you like, what about this? And they're kind of hitting you with some stuff and you got to figure out. And you're like, I don't know.
You got to motivate them.
I got to figure this out too. Like, very well said, kid. Now I'm got this little bug in my ear. I've got to figure out.
And I'll tell you what, man, Fitzy's spot on because I don't know how relevant this is, but it's like he's from the future because it's Thursday where he is right now. So he's seeing our, what we're impacting in the world a day.
He knows the impact this message had in the future. And so that's it, man. So that's why we do what we do. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Again, if you didn't get your question answered, or maybe you're a little timid, a little shy, you don't want it publicly, our links to our social media are below. Links to our email are below. Links to everything we're doing is below. Go click those buttons. I've been at baseball for the past 3 days, so my voice is a little shot. And so I'm not going through puberty. But maybe I'll grow more of a beard. I'll grow taller. Like something will happen. Or maybe my voice will just keep cracking. But we appreciate you tuning in. This has been another episode of Oak and Rock Fatherhood. You can find Anthony, myself on all the platforms. Reach out. Let's normalize this progress. Let's normalize this discussion and get you making some progress. So we'll see you guys next time. Stay well.